The message came at 11:47 that night. Go stay with Miriam for a few days. Don't come back until you're ready to listen. My father didn't say, get out. He was too careful for that. But I knew what he meant. 4 days before my 18th birthday, the man who was supposed to protect me had just pushed me out of the only house my mother ever left me. And the strangest part was, he thought I had failed. He thought my SAT score was 980. He had no idea I was staring at the real result on my phone, a scholarship letter waiting in my inbox, a future I had worked for in silence. But that wasn't the secret that changed my life. The real secret was behind his office door, where my stepmother whispered, "Then we help her understand what her real options are." Before I go on, tell me where you're listening from tonight. And if you've ever felt like a stranger in the place that was supposed to be home, just write, "I understand." I read the comments, and I want you to know, you're not alone here. A few hours before that message, we were sitting at the dinner table pretending to be a family. Vanessa had bought a small cake for Chloe because Chloe scored 1,180 on her SAT. It was a good score, but Vanessa acted as if her daughter had just won the future. My father, Paul Bennett, raised his glass. To Chloe, he said, "We're proud of you." We. That word hurt more than it should have. I stood near the kitchen doorway, holding my phone. My real score was still open on the screen. I had carried the best news of my life alone for hours. But I had also watched Vanessa all week. She hadn't looked like someone hoping I would succeed. She looked like someone waiting for proof that I shouldn't. So when she looked up at me and asked, "Well, Ava, your results came today too, didn't they?" I didn't tell her the truth. My father turned. For 1 second, I almost said, "Dad, I did it." But then I remembered the way Vanessa had been waiting. I didn't lie because I was ashamed. I lied because I wanted to know what they would do with my failure before I trusted them with my success. So I looked at the floor and said, 980. The room changed, not loudly. That would have been easier. Paul set his glass down. 980? I nodded. Vanessa tilted her head. "Oh, Ava. Maybe this is a blessing. Some people hurt themselves chasing lives they weren't meant for." Chloe picked frosting off her cake. Community college isn't the end of the world. She wanted it to sound kind. It didn't. My father leaned back. "After everything this family has done for you, this is what you bring home?" I wanted to ask what everything meant, but I said nothing. Silence had become my safest language in that house. And that was the part that hurt most. Because my father had not always been unsafe. When Mom died, Dad used to sit outside my bedroom door because I couldn't sleep. He never knew what to say, so he just stayed there, his back against the wall, until I stopped crying. For years, I told myself that man was still inside him somewhere. At the dinner table that night, I looked for him. I didn't find him. Vanessa touched Paul's wrist. "Don't be too hard on her," she said softly. Then she turned to me. "But Ava, you have to understand. You're almost 18. The world won't keep making room for your feelings." Paul looked at me. "You turn 18 in 4 days," he said. "It's time you understand what disappointment costs." That sentence stayed with me because it sounded rehearsed. After dinner, I washed plates, while Vanessa rinsed the cake knife beside me. "You know," she said, "your mother was a dreamer too." My hands stilled. "She filled your head with big ideas. I'm sure she meant well, but sometimes love makes people unrealistic." "My mother believed in me," I said. Vanessa smiled. Believing in someone and preparing them for life are two different things. Later, when I walked past my father's office, I heard my mother's name, Helen. I stopped. The door was almost closed. Vanessa said, "That house was Helen's, wasn't it?" My father answered, "It's protected for Ava." "And we just live here?" "She's the one Helen left it to." My breath caught. Vanessa gave a short laugh. "So Helen is gone, and somehow she still controls our future." Vanessa. No. I have lived here for 9 years. I cooked in her kitchen, raised children under her roof, and still every wall reminds me I'm only the woman who came after. My father said nothing. Then Vanessa lowered her voice. She turns 18 in 4 days. Can she sign then? If she agrees, my father said. Vanessa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, almost gently, then we help her understand what her real options are. Vanessa. I'm not saying force her, Paul. I'm saying she has a low score, no savings, no plan, and nowhere stable to go. If you offer tuition, housing, support, she'll see the practical choice. Another silence. Then Vanessa said, she'll need you. That's the point. Ha! I backed away, my hand over my mouth. That night, I understood something worse than not being loved. They wanted me scared enough to surrender the last thing my mother had protected. Then my phone buzzed. My father's message. Go stay with Miriam for a few days. Don't come back until you're ready to listen. He did not say, get out. But he didn't say, stay, either. And sometimes what a parent refuses to say is the part that breaks you. I thought I was being sent away because I had failed. I was wrong. I was being moved out of the way. I went upstairs and locked my bedroom door. For a moment, I stood there without moving, listening to the quiet house below me. Then I opened the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside was a small wooden box my mother had left for me years ago. Pale blue, with little white flowers painted around the edges. On the lid, in her handwriting, were the words, for Ava, when you are almost 18. My hands shook as I opened it. The first thing I smelled was lavender. My mother used to tuck lavender sachets into drawers because she said clothes should smell like someone cared where they were folded. Inside was a photograph, a stack of papers, a small envelope, and a folded letter with my name on it. Ava. Just my name. In the handwriting I had missed so badly that seeing it hurt. I picked up the photograph first. My mother, Helen, stood in the backyard barefoot, holding a mixing bowl against her hip. Sunlight was in her hair. Her smile was not perfect. It was alive. For years, Vanessa had tried to make my mother smaller. A picture removed because it made the room feel heavy. A memory interrupted with, that was a long time ago, Ava. A name spoken like it belonged to another life. But there she was. Still bright. Still mine. I opened the letter. My sweet Ava, if you are reading this before your 18th birthday, then some part of you already knows you may need more than memories. I stopped reading. The words blurred. I wiped my eyes and continued. I hope I am wrong. I hope your father keeps every promise he made. I hope this house stays gentle to you. But love is not only what we feel. Sometimes love is what we prepare. Sometimes love is what we prepare. My mother had been dying and still thinking ahead for me. This house was left for you. Your father may live there while raising you, but it is not his to sell, trade, or give away. When you turn 18, call Mr. Owen Whitfield before signing anything anyone gives you. Anyone, Ava, even someone you love. I pressed the paper against my chest. My mother had loved my father once. And still, she had written, anyone. The next line broke me. If you ever feel unwanted in that house, remember I wanted you with my whole life. In the box, I found Owen Whitfield's card, a summary of what my mother had arranged, my birth certificate, my social security card, a tiny glow-in-the-dark star, and an old pancake recipe card. Sunday pancakes. 1 cup flour. 1 egg. A little more milk if Ava is helping because she always spills. I laughed through tears. That was my mother. Practical enough to protect a house. Tender enough to remember how badly I poured milk at 6 years old. Then came a soft knock. Ava, my father said. His voice was not angry. That almost made it worse. I pressed record on my phone before opening the door. My father stood in the hallway, rubbing his forehead like I was a headache. For 1 second, I saw the father who used to sit outside my bedroom door after Mom died. I missed him so suddenly I almost couldn't breathe. Then he spoke. Ah, Vanessa thinks it would be better if you spent a few days at Miriam's. Vanessa thinks. Not I think. Not I'm worried. Not I'm sorry. I asked, do you think that? He looked away. I think everyone needs time to cool down. I didn't yell. Ava. There it was. The warning inside my name. He sighed. Tomorrow I'll send you something, he said. Not a punishment. A plan. Tuition help. Somewhere stable to live. A way forward. And if I don't agree? His face tightened. Ava, don't turn help into an attack. I looked at him and realized he wasn't asking me to trust the plan. He was asking me to trust him after he had already chosen not to protect me. I'm trying to keep this family stable, he said. I looked at him. Am I part of the family? For the first time, his expression faltered. That tiny pause before apparent answers should never exist. Ava, he said softly, don't make this harder. Some questions do not need answers when silence has already told the truth. I'll go to Miriam's, I said. Relief moved across his face before he could hide it. That relief hurt more than the message. After he left, I stopped the recording and renamed the file, Tonight. Then I packed carefully: clothes, laptop, chargers, my savings envelope, my mother's letter, her instructions, my documents, the wooden box. I did not take anything that was not mine. When I came downstairs, Vanessa waited near the kitchen, her face arranged into concern. Chloe sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when she saw my suitcase. For a moment, our eyes met. I waited for her to say something. Anything. But Chloe only looked down again. Years later, she would tell me that was the moment she first lied to herself. She saw me leave. She saw that something was wrong. And she decided it wasn't her problem, because the room I was leaving behind would soon become hers. I opened the front door myself. Behind me, my father stood in the hallway. He did not say stay, so I walked out. At the bottom of the walkway, I turned back once. My father stood inside the doorway. Vanessa was behind him. Chloe was a shadow on the couch. The porch light framed them like a family portrait I had been cut out of. My father raised his hand slightly. Not a wave, not a goodbye, just a motion that said, go on, then. So I did. I walked until the house disappeared behind the trees. Only then did I call Miriam. She answered on the second ring. Ava? Sweetheart, it's almost midnight. I tried to speak, but my throat closed. Her voice changed immediately. Where are you? Walking, I managed. Are you safe? For the moment. Send me your location. I'm coming. No, I'll get a ride. Can I come over? There was no pause, no question about what I had done wrong, only Miriam saying, always. That word nearly undid me. My mother had not left me a memory box, she had left me a warning, and now for the first time I knew exactly why. Miriam opened the door before I even knocked. She must have been watching from the window, because the moment I stepped out of the rideshare with my broken suitcase, she came down in slippers and an old gray cardigan. Ava. That was all she said. Not what happened. Not why are you here. Just my name. Like she was reminding me I still had one. Her apartment was small, on the third floor of an older brick building. A worn sofa, a round table, yellow kitchen cabinets. Nothing impressive, nothing elegant. But the moment I stepped inside, my body believed something my mind had not yet caught up to. I was safe. Miriam set a bowl of soup in front of me. Shoes off, soup first, she said. I took one spoonful, then another. And then, for reasons I could not explain, I started crying into the soup. Not loudly, just tears falling fast and silent. Miriam sat across from me and waited. She didn't tell me to be strong. She didn't say my father loved me in his own way. She didn't rush to make the tears stop. She let the pain have room. When I finally wiped my face, I whispered, "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For coming so late." "Ava, if a child shows up at midnight with a suitcase, the hour is not the problem." "I'm not a child. No," she said softly. "Not legally in 4 days. But tonight, you are still someone who deserved to be protected." That broke me more than any insult Vanessa had ever said. So I told her everything. Chloe's cake, the fake 980, my real 1,560, the office door, my mother's house. The words Vanessa used so gently they almost sounded reasonable. My father's message, the box, my mother's letter. When I finished, Miriam sat very still. "She knew," she whispered. "I think she was afraid he would forget me." Miriam shook her head. "No. Your mother was afraid he would remember you only when it benefited him." That sentence settled into the room, heavy but honest. I showed her my real score. Miriam put on her glasses, read it twice, then covered her mouth. "Oh, Helen," she whispered. Then she looked at me. "Ava Bennett, your mother would have made pancakes for the entire street." I laughed. It came out cracked, but it was a laugh. "She left the recipe in the box," I said. "Of course she did. She wrote that I spilled milk. You did. Constantly." For a few seconds the night loosened its grip. Then my phone buzzed. My father. I did not move. The call ended. A text appeared. "Let me know when you arrive." It looked like concern. But he already knew where he had sent me. And he had not asked if I was scared. Miriam looked at the message and said, "He wants proof you got there so he can sleep." I turned the phone face down. Another message came. "Think about what I said." Miriam stood. "Tonight you sleep. Tomorrow we keep the truth from disappearing." The next morning Miriam helped me save everything that proved I wasn't crazy. My mother's letter, my real score, the scholarship email, my father's messages, Vanessa's messages, and the recording. She didn't call it evidence, she called it keeping the truth from disappearing. Miriam wrote passwords on paper, then crossed them out when I told her that was not secure. "Well, excuse me for being born before clouds were storage," she said. Huh. I laughed so hard I had to cover my mouth. That laughter mattered. It made the morning something other than damage control. For the next 3 days, my father's messages changed tone by the hour. "Let me know you're okay." Then, "Ava, this is childish." Then, "We need to talk about your future." Vanessa's messages were smoother. "Your father barely slept. No one is against you. Please don't let Miriam fill your head with things." That last one made Miriam snort. "If only I had that much power," she said. "I'd fill your head with better soup recipes and compound interest." Haha. On the night before my birthday, Miriam came home with a small paper bag. "What's that?" I asked. "None of your business." Miriam. "Fine. It's a cupcake." She set it on the table. "Vanilla cake. Strawberry frosting. One little candle." "I know tomorrow has a lot in it," she said. "Calls. Decisions. Grown-up things no 18-year-old should have to do first thing in the morning. But it is still your birthday." My throat tightened. My father hasn't mentioned it. Miriam's face softened. "Then we will." That night, I placed Owen Whitfield's card beside my phone. At 11:47, exactly 24 hours after my father's message, my phone buzzed again. "Tomorrow you're 18. We should handle this like adults." I looked at those words. Handle this. Like adults. Then I looked at my mother's letter. "When the day comes, call Owen. Let someone help you hold what is yours." At sunrise, I would be 18. And for the first time their plan would have to face someone other than me. I woke before the alarm. For a moment, I just lay there on Miriam's sofa, staring at the plain white ceiling. There were no glow-in-the-dark stars above me, no old posters, no familiar crack near the corner. Just morning light, a thin blanket, and the sound of Miriam moving in the kitchen. I was 18, nothing looked different, the world did not pause, but inside me, something had changed. Not confidence. Not yet. More like permission. Permission to stop waiting for my father to choose me before I chose myself. Miriam appeared with the cupcake from the night before. One candle leaned slightly in the strawberry frosting. Well, she said, it has character. She lit it. The little flame trembled between us. Birthdays had become small after my mother died, but with Miriam's grocery store cupcake and crooked candle, I felt more remembered than I had in years. Miriam cleared her throat. I'm not singing unless you want the neighbors to move out. I laughed. You can just say it. Her eyes softened. Happy birthday, Ava. I looked at the candle. I did not wish for my father to call. I did not wish for Vanessa to apologize. I wished for enough courage to make the next right call. Then I blew it out. After we split the cupcake for breakfast, Miriam placed Owen Whitfield's card on the table. You ready? No. She nodded. Call anyway. I dialed. On the third ring, a woman answered. Whitfield Legal Group, this is Anna. How may I help you? My voice almost failed. My name is Ava Bennett, I said. I turned 18 today. My mother told me to call Mr. Whitfield. There was a pause. Then Anna's tone changed. One moment, please. A minute later, a man's voice came on. Miss Bennett? Yes. This is Owen Whitfield. I closed my eyes. For years, he had existed only as a name in my mother's letter. Now his voice was real. My mother was Helen Bennett, I said. His breath caught slightly. Yes, he said gently. She was. I'm supposed to call you today. I know. Those two words nearly broke me. Not who are you? Not your father should handle this. I know. As if my mother had left a light on, and someone had been watching for it. Owen continued, Ava, your mother made sure this day would not belong to fear. I don't know what to do, I admitted. That's all right. You don't have to know everything before asking for help. Are you safe? I looked around Miriam's kitchen. Yes, I said. I'm with Miriam Lane. Good. Can you both come to my office this morning? An hour later, I sat in Owen Whitfield's office with my mother's wooden box on my lap. The office was quiet, lined with bookshelves, and smelled like paper and coffee. Owen was older than I imagined, with silver hair and the calm posture of someone who had learned not to rush bad news. He did not sit behind his desk like a judge. He sat at the round table with us. That small choice mattered. Before opening the file, he said, Your mother did not create this plan because she wanted you to spend your life fighting. She created it so that if a fight came, you would not have to start with empty hands. Then he opened a folder. On the front were the words, Helen Bennett Family Trust. Seeing my mother's name on something so official made my chest tighten. In my memory, Helen Bennett was warm hands, pancake batter, lavender drawers. Here, she was also signatures, dates, witnesses, legal language. It should have felt cold, but somehow, it felt like my mother had found another way to tuck a blanket around me. Owen explained simply. Your mother left you the house, he said. Not because she didn't trust love, because she understood grief can make weak people choose badly. My throat tightened. Your father was allowed to live there while raising you. But he was never allowed to trade your future for his comfort. Then he tapped my mother's letter gently. This is why she told you to call me before signing anything. I whispered. He said he wanted to help with college. Has he sent you anything? Not yet. He said he would, then send it to me first. I gave Owen my mother's letter, my father's texts, Vanessa's messages, my mother's instructions, and the recording. Before playing it, Owen said, Recordings can be complicated. I cannot promise this can be used directly, but it can show us what to protect and where to look. The audio played. Vanessa's voice filled the office. She turns 18 in 4 days. Can she sign then? My father, if she agrees. Then Vanessa. Then we help her understand what her real options are. Miriam closed her eyes. When Vanessa spoke about my score, my lack of savings, and needing my father, Miriam's hand tightened around her teacup. Owen listened without interrupting. When it ended, he said quietly, "Ava, I'm sorry." "For what?" "That the adults around you made this necessary." No one had said it that way before. It made the shame loosen. Just a little. Owen sent a letter to my father that same day. From now on, anything about the house or my future had to go through him. When Miriam and I returned to her apartment, an email from my father was already waiting. Subject line: "For your future." "Ava, I don't want us to start your adult life like enemies. I attached a simple agreement so I can help with tuition and keep things stable at home." My stomach sank. Miriam whispered, "Forward it." I did. 43 minutes later, Owen called. "Ava," he said, "you were right not to sign." "What was it?" "It looks like help on the first page," Owen said. "But by the end, it gives your father power your mother never gave him." He had wrapped a trap in the language of help. I opened a new email draft to my father. For a moment, I wanted to write everything. "I know what you're doing. I heard you. Mom protected me. You failed me." Instead, I typed one sentence. "Please send all future documents to Mr. Owen Whitfield." I read it twice, then I sent it. 3 minutes later, my father called. I let it ring. Then came the voicemail. "You got a lawyer involved?" "Ava, after everything I've done for you? I was trying to help. You're making this harder than it needs to be." There it was again. Harder. As if the problem was my refusal to be easy. That night, Miriam printed my scholarship confirmation and put it on her refrigerator with a strawberry magnet. She apologized because she didn't have a frame. I told her the refrigerator was better. And I meant it. In my father's house, my real score had been a secret I carried alone. In Miriam's apartment, it became something allowed to exist. The file my father sent looked like help. Owen read it once and called it what it was. A week later, I left for college. Miriam drove me. My suitcase was heavier, but it still had the same broken wheel. She called it character. I called it poverty with wheels. For the first time in days, I laughed without crying after. The campus was 4 hours away. Students and parents filled the sidewalks. Fathers carried mini fridges. Mothers smoothed comforters. Families posed in front of dorm buildings. For a moment, the old ache returned. I wondered what it would have been like if my father had come. Would he have carried my boxes? Would he have looked proud? Would he have told me to call if I needed anything? Then my phone buzzed. A message from him. "Hope you understand one day that I was trying to teach you responsibility." I stared at it. Miriam read it, then handed the phone back. "Do you want to answer?" I looked at the dorms, the students laughing, the folder in my backpack, and Miriam standing beside my ridiculous suitcase. "No," I said, and I meant it. My dorm room was small, 2 beds, 2 desks, 1 window facing another building. On my desk, I placed 3 things: my mother's photograph, the tiny glow-in-the-dark star, and the folder with my documents. Miriam stood in the doorway. "You sure you don't want me to stay longer? If you stay longer, I'll ask you not to leave." Her eyes filled. "Then I should leave before you get smart." Before she left, she held my face in both hands. "You do not have to become extraordinary to deserve what your mother protected." Then she said the words I had wanted from my father. "I'm proud of you." It did not come from him, but it came, and maybe that mattered more than I understood then. The first year did not heal me, it only taught me how to keep going. I worked in the library before classes, ate cheap meals, and learned how to keep moving even when homesickness hit without warning. Some nights, I missed home. Not my father's house. Home as an idea. The thing people mean when they say, "I'm going home for break," without flinching. That first Thanksgiving, I went back to Miriam's, where pancakes and one old joke helped me laugh again. That night my father texted, "Happy Thanksgiving. Hope college is teaching you humility. I saved a screenshot and deleted it from view. That was how I survived the first year, not with one grand act of strength, with small decisions. Do not answer, save the proof, go to class, eat something, call Miriam, sleep, try again. Years passed that way, not quickly, not painlessly, but they passed. I finished college, then went to law school. I didn't choose law because I wanted revenge. I chose it because I had learned how easily fear can sound like authority when no one teaches you your rights. Owen sent updates every few months, no activity, no filings, all clear. Paul and Vanessa still lived in the house. Owen advised me not to force a fight before I was ready. The house was protected. They could not sell it. They could not borrow against it. They could not transfer it. For a long time, that was enough, until the 7th year. I was 25, working as a clerk in a small litigation firm. My office was really a shared room with 2 desks, a noisy printer, and a window facing a brick wall. It was not glamorous, but it was mine. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, I was reviewing a file when my phone rang. Owen Whitfield. I answered with a smile at first. Hi, Owen. He did not return the warmth. Ava, he said, are you sitting down? My hand tightened around the phone. What happened? There has been a filing related to the house. What kind of filing? A document claiming you signed consent years ago allowing your father continued control over your interest in the house. For a moment, I heard nothing but rain. Then I set my pen down carefully. I never signed that. I know. Owen explained that Paul had tried to use the house as security for a loan 6 weeks earlier. The request was rejected. 2 weeks later, a document appeared claiming I had given him control years ago. It wasn't random. It was desperation with my name attached to it. I looked at the tiny glow-in-the-dark star taped inside my desk drawer. Still faint, still stubborn, still there. For 7 years, I had let time do its work. Now time had handed me back the door. Okay, I said. Owen paused. Are you all right? I thought of the girl who walked away with a broken suitcase, a birthday candle, a refrigerator magnet, and one sentence sent to her father through a lawyer. Then I said, yes, and for once it was mostly true. For 7 years, the house stayed quiet. Then my name appeared on a document I had never touched. The document arrived that evening. I waited until I was home to open it. Some things should not be read under office lights while a coworker eats chips 6 feet away. My apartment was small. The kitchen and living room looked like they had been introduced as an afterthought. On the counter, an unopened container of soup from Miriam sat beside a note. Eat this before it becomes evidence. I smiled. Then I opened the file. The document was 7 pages long, but I only needed 1 line to understand it. It claimed I had trusted my father with the one thing my mother told me to protect. And at the bottom was my name, Ava Bennett. Written by someone who had studied me closely enough to steal the shape of my hand, but not closely enough to understand what my mother had taught me to protect. I called Owen. He answered on the first ring. You saw it? Yes. Are you all right? I don't know yet. That is an honest answer. He said the signature was likely copied from something I had signed years before. Maybe a school form, maybe a scholarship form. They would compare samples. What do we do? I asked. We stop them from using it. We ask where it came from. We make them explain it. Do I need to see him? Not immediately. I nodded, though he could not see me. Then I said, I want to hear his voice. Owen paused. You mean call him? Yes. I advise caution. I know. I told myself I was calling for clarity. But that wasn't completely true. I called because some small, loyal part of me still wanted to hear my father say, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'll fix it. Even after everything, a daughter can still reach for the father she lost before she accepts he may not be there. Owen was quiet. Then he said gently, if he disappoints you, that does not mean you were foolish for asking. That was why I trusted Owen. He protected the case without forgetting there was a heart inside it. After we hung up, I called my father. His number was still saved as Dad. I had changed phones twice, moved cities, and finished degrees, but I had never changed that name. He answered on the fourth ring. Ava. He sounded older. I steadied myself. Dad. Silence filled the line. It's been a long time, he said. Yes, I hear you're doing well. I looked at the document on my screen. Did you hear that before or after you filed my name on a paper I never signed? The softness disappeared. Ava, this doesn't need to become ugly. Then tell me the truth before it does. He sighed. I have managed that house for years, paid taxes, handled repairs, kept it from falling apart. You were allowed to live there while raising me, I said. That didn't make it yours. I raised you. Sometimes, I said. He inhaled sharply. That's unfair. Is it? I was not perfect. No parent is. No one asked you to be perfect. Then what do you want from me? I almost said, I wanted you to choose me, but that was not why I called. I want to know why there is a document with my signature claiming I agreed to something I never agreed to. He was silent. Too long. Vanessa found it in the files, he said finally. That's not what I asked. Ava, did you believe I signed it? He didn't answer. And in that silence, I understood. He didn't need to forge my name himself. He only needed to accept a lie because it benefited him. We were trying to keep the house in the family, he said quietly. It was already in the family. Mom made sure of that. She is gone. My entire body went still. He softened his voice. I mean, she's not here to understand what this has become. No, I said. She's not here. That's why she left instructions. His breathing changed. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. I was 17 when you and Vanessa talked about making sure I needed to agree. No answer. I heard you say Miriam couldn't support me forever. His voice lowered. You recorded us? I protected myself. You were a child. Yes, I said, that's the point. For a moment, I thought he might apologize. Instead, he said, who put you up to this? Miriam? Owen? You were never this cold. Cold. The accusation people make when your boundaries become inconvenient. No, I said. I was never this protected. Then I ended the call. The next morning, Vanessa emailed me. Subject line, enough. She wrote that my father was unwell, that I had walked away, and that my mother's protection had become a shadow over their lives. I forwarded it to Owen, then to Miriam. Miriam replied, do not answer. Also, eat something green today. I laughed. That laugh saved the morning. By noon, Owen had answered them, explained the document, produced the original, and stopped trying to use it. A week later, their attorney called it a painful misunderstanding among family members. I read that phrase 3 times. A painful misunderstanding. As if my name had wandered onto a consent form by accident. Owen called after. They are requesting mediation. With Paul and Vanessa? Yes. Do I have to go? No, but sometimes the room changes when the person they reduce to paper sits down in a chair. The person they reduce to paper. A signature. A consent. A problem. A child with a low score. But I was not paper. I was my mother's daughter. They called it a misunderstanding. I called it my signature on a lie. The mediation center was plain, beige, and cold in the way rooms become cold when everyone inside is pretending to be reasonable. Miriam drove me there. Before I got out of the car, she held my hand. You are not 17 in that hallway anymore, she said. I nodded. But when I walked inside and saw Paul, Vanessa, and Chloe sitting across the conference table, my body forgot for 1 second. Paul stood when he saw me, then stopped. Vanessa sat perfectly still, her face calm enough to be rehearsed. Chloe looked older. Tired. Less certain. Her eyes met mine, then dropped. Owen sat beside me with Claire Weston, the litigation attorney he had brought in. Claire had a quiet face and sharp eyes. The mediator began with rules. Vanessa nodded, as if she had invented respect herself. Their attorney spoke first. This is a painful family misunderstanding. Mr. Bennett maintained the home for years and believed he was acting in everyone's best interest. Claire waited until he finished, then she placed the disputed document on the table. Beside it, she placed my verified signatures. Then the college agreement from the week I turned 18. Then my father's old email. Then Owen's letter from 7 years ago. One by one, no drama, just wait. This is not about old pain, Claire said. This is about a signature Ava Bennett says she never provided. Their attorney shifted. We have not conceded the document is invalid. No, Claire said. That is why we're asking where it came from. The mediator turned to Paul. Mr. Bennett? Paul cleared his throat. It was in our files. Claire asked, who kept those files? Paul glanced at Vanessa. Vanessa answered smoothly. I organized household documents. And when did you find this one? I don't remember the exact date. Claire nodded. Convenient. Vanessa's mouth tightened. There is nothing funny about tearing apart a family, Ava. For the first time, I spoke. I agree. The room quieted. That's why I wish you hadn't helped do it. Color rose in her face. Owen spoke next, calm and steady. Helen Bennett left the house for Ava. Paul was allowed to live there while raising her. That did not make the house his. Then Claire played my father's voicemail from the week I turned 18. His voice filled the room. You got a lawyer involved? Ava, after everything I've done for you? I was trying to help. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Paul looked smaller as he listened. Claire read Vanessa's old text next. You are turning your father into the enemy because you cannot accept responsibility. Vanessa sat very still. Claire said, Ava was not acting like someone who had already agreed, she was refusing pressure. Then Owen mentioned the recording from the night before my birthday. Vanessa snapped. She was a child eavesdropping on adults. I looked at her. I was a child, I said. That never seemed to bother you when you wanted me to sign adult paperwork. Silence. The mediator allowed the recording to be played. Paul said quietly, play it. Vanessa turned to him. Paul. He did not look at her. The audio began. Vanessa's voice came through first. She turns 18 in 4 days. Can she sign then? My father answered, if she agrees, then Vanessa, then we help her understand what her real options are. The room did not explode. Real truth rarely explodes, it settles. The audio continued. She has a low score, no savings, no plan. If you offer tuition, housing, support, she'll see the practical choice. Then my father's voice. Miriam can't support her forever. Claire stopped the recording. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then Vanessa said softly, that was taken out of context. Chloe's voice was small. Mom, stop. Vanessa turned to her. Chloe, this doesn't concern you. It does, Chloe said, and her hands were shaking, because I saw the folder. The room went still. Claire looked at her. What folder? Chloe swallowed. The summer after Ava left, Mom had copies of Ava's school forms. I asked why. She said Paul might need signature samples in case Ava became difficult. Vanessa's face changed. Not much, just enough. That is not what I said. Chloe wiped her cheek. Maybe not those exact words, but I knew what you meant. And I'm sorry, Ava. I told myself it wasn't my problem, because I was still living in the house. For the first time, Vanessa had no clean answer. Then she turned toward me. Do you know what it is like to live in a house where every wall belongs to a dead woman? I cooked in her kitchen. I raised children under her roof. And still, every time I looked around, I was reminded I would never be more than the woman who came after. Her voice was not loud, that made it worse. I looked at her. Then you should have left the house, not tried to take it from her daughter. Paul lowered his head. I told myself I was keeping the family stable, he said. But the truth is, I was tired. Tired of fighting Vanessa. Tired of money problems. Tired of feeling like Helen had trusted me with something I couldn't control. He looked at me then. And instead of protecting you from that pressure, I handed you to it. The room went quiet again. This time I did not fill the silence for him. So was I said finally. I was 17. When the recording ended, no one in that room could pretend I had imagined it. After the recording, the room changed. No one confessed everything. No one became good in one afternoon. But the false document was withdrawn. Paul and Vanessa admitted they had no ownership of the house. They agreed to leave within a set time and stop contacting me directly about it. Vanessa resisted every line. Paul looked like every signature aged him. When it was my turn, I looked at my name on the page, Ava Bennett. This time it was my hand, my choice, my consent. I signed slowly. No thunder, no music, just ink drying. And yet, somewhere inside me, a door opened. In the parking lot, Miriam waited with coffee. Is it done? Mostly. That is a very legal answer. They withdrew it. The fake document? Yes. And the house? They have to leave. Miriam closed her eyes. Then she said, Good. I was prepared to haunt them. I laughed. As we turned toward the car, Paul came outside alone. For a long time, he said nothing. Finally, he asked, Did I lose you that night? I looked at him. You didn't lose me in one night, I said. You lost me every time you made my fear useful. His eyes filled. I'm sorry, he whispered. For what? For the document, for sending you away, for making you feel like you had no home. It was not everything, but it was closer than anything he had given me before. I hope one day you're sorry because you understand what you did, I said, not just because it cost you the house. 90 days later, Owen called. They're out. For 7 years, the house had existed in my life as a question. Now it was empty. Waiting. Miriam came with me for the first walkthrough, so did Owen. The neighborhood looked the same, but I was not the same girl looking from across the street anymore. Owen handed me the key. This should be yours first. The key was small, ordinary, silver. I opened the door. The house smelled stale dust, closed windows, old paint, and people who had recently stopped belonging there. We passed the kitchen, the office, the hallway, and the stairs, every place that had once held a frightened version of me. Each place held a memory, none of them trapped me anymore. Upstairs, my old room was empty except for an envelope on the windowsill. My name was on it. Ava. Inside were the glow-in-the-dark stars Chloe had peeled from the ceiling. Some were bent. One was torn in half. There was a note. I kept them because I knew they were yours. I'm sorry I pretended the room became mine just because I moved into it. Chloe. I sat on the edge of the empty bed frame. Miriam read the note and sniffed loudly. I am emotionally annoyed. Shah. I laughed through tears. Across the hall was my mother's room. It had been used for storage. Boxes, old decorations, plastic bins labeled winter and misc. The air felt trapped. I walked to the window and opened it. It stuck halfway. I pushed harder. Fresh air entered the room. Miriam exhaled behind me. There, she said. Such a small word, such a large thing. Later, in the backyard, I found the lavender my mother had planted along the fence, half hidden, overgrown, but alive. I touched one stem. The scent rose faintly on my fingers. Lavender, the smell of my mother's box. That was when I knew what I wanted. I did not want to sell the house in anger. I wanted to make it useful. A place where the love my mother left would keep moving. By the end of summer, Helen's reading room was ready. warm white walls, a wooden desk, my mother's photo, the pancake recipe, and a small glass dish holding the stars Chloe had saved. The first student I helped was Lila, a 17-year-old living with her aunt after losing her mother. When she whispered, "I don't want to be a burden," I heard my younger self. "You don't have to earn help before receiving it," I told her. Months later, when she called crying, I got in. I placed a cupcake beside my mother's photo and whispered, "She got in." A month later, Paul asked to meet through Owen. No pressure, no property talk, my choice. We met at a quiet cafe. He looked older, smaller. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he said. He told me he had found an old video of my mother in the kitchen and offered to send it through Owen. I watched the video alone that night, not with him, not as forgiveness, as something my mother had a right to give me, even if he had kept it too long. In the video, she was laughing, alive, dancing badly while a toddler version of me banged a spoon against a pot. I cried until the screen blurred. Later, Paul sent one more message through Owen. "I'm sorry I made love in my house feel conditional." When we met again, I told him the truth. "I'm not ready to call this healing," I said, "but I'm willing to stop pretending you never existed." He nodded. For the first time, he did not ask for more than I could give. One evening, after everyone left Helen's reading room, I stayed behind to close up. The house smelled like paper, lavender, and the last trace of pancakes. The kitchen, the hallway, and the stairs no longer belonged only to pain. They belonged to every step I had taken back on my own terms. I turned off the lamp. The stars in the glass dish glowed faintly, tiny green points in the dimness. I had not gotten my childhood back. I had not gotten a perfect father. I had not gotten an apology early enough to prevent the damage. But I had gotten the truth. I had gotten protection. I had gotten a room where fear did not make the rules. And maybe that was not the revenge I once imagined. Maybe it was better. Because revenge would have kept the house tied to them, this made it mine. Outside, the red maple shifted above the porch. I locked the door. The key turned easily now. No trembling hands. At the bottom of the steps, I turned back. The house glowed softly through the windows. Not perfect, not painless. Home, maybe, not the old kind. The kind you build after learning the difference between being kept and being loved. If this story reminded you of someone who had to rebuild quietly, leave one word in the comments, rise, and tell me where you're listening from tonight. I read the comments, and I hope, wherever you are, this story reminds you of something I learned the hard way. Being unwanted by the wrong people does not make you unworthy of love. My mother left me a house, but what she really left me was a way back to myself. And in the end, I didn't get my old life back. I got something better. The right to build a new one no one could take from me.